Okay, good afternoon or good morning, everyone, depending on where you are. Currently, I'm on the East Coast. It's now 1 p.m. It's noontime here centrally where I'm located in Minneapolis, and of course, it's still morning out in the mountains in the West Coast. Thank you for joining me today. This is Scott Clayson. I'm the Director of Marketing for TimeSolv, and it's another Wednesday webinar. This is the second one that we have done now at TimeSolv. We instituted it last month. Every Wednesday, or excuse me, the first Wednesday of every month at this same exact time, we'll be running over just some tips and tricks to get the most out of TimeSolv, and we'll essentially be covering the tip of the weeks that we send out once a week to all of you, and just cover that stuff in more detail. So if you'd like to mark your calendar to make sure you sit in on the next session, it will be on, looks like Wednesday, September 6th at the same time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Time. And I am recording this session as well, so that, and I will email that out to everyone who signed up for the webinar. So if you find that you need to bail out early, I won't take offense. I know how it goes timing-wise, and I will email you out a link to the recording so you can watch it on your own time. Today's session probably will go about a half hour, maybe 45 minutes, I'm guessing. I certainly don't anticipate us using the full hour. I do have everyone on mute who is here. We do have an opportunity near the end where I will take some questions. And where you can do that here in this interface up near the top of your screen, you should see a little kind of a thought bubble or dialogue bubble circle. If you click on that, that's our chat area, and that's where you can enter a question or a comment or whatever it might be. And if it's something that's real detailed, we could always take it offline, and you could email me directly or email our support staff directly. So I think those are all the kind of the housekeeping items for us before we begin. So let's get going and talk about the agenda of what we're going to be doing today, what we're going to be covering. So the first tip we're going to talk about is how to create related parties so that you can do conflict checking. Now, this is obviously going to be for those who are using TimeSolv Legal and not TimeSolv Pro. Conflict checking obviously is a big part of a law firm's duties in making sure that they have no conflicts of interest, and you can run all of that through TimeSolv if you're not using that feature yet or you're not sure exactly how to use that feature. That's what we'll cover here for our first tip. Then we're going to be talking about adding context to your matter. And this came directly from somebody who left a review for us, which was nice of them. However, they lamented the fact that they had to recreate a contact for every one of their matters, even though they already existed. And they obviously weren't aware that it's very easy to take a contact that already exists within TimeSolv and associate them with any other client or any other matter that you like. You don't have to just keep recreating a new contact when you create a new matter if you don't need to. So I'll show you how to go about doing that. Then we'll talk a little bit about editing draft invoices. This wasn't a particular tip of the week that came out, but in talking to some of our support staff, they mentioned to me that a lot of our users don't realize that once you create a draft invoice, you have the ability to edit that invoice without going back and changing the time entries or the expense entries or whatever it might be. There's a lot of things you can do to those drafts right there in the draft invoice list. And I'll show you how we do that, hopefully make your life a little easier and save you some time. And likewise, also have understood that a lot of users of TimeSolv don't realize or forget that they can download our reports and all of our invoices in multiple formats. So you don't have to just download these reports or invoices as PDFs. And you can download them as Word documents, Excel files, even in a PowerPoint if you so choose. And I'll show you some of the things you can do with that, specifically invoices, because I know some people get a little frustrated that there's not a lot of options in how you can change the font size or the type of font on invoices. And there are actually ways to do that if you download it as a Microsoft Word document, for example. So I'll show you that. as well. And then the last thing we'll cover today, and it's just a quick little thing. One of these services that we offer that a lot of people don't realize is you can order custom envelopes from us that makes it much easier for inserting an invoice if you're one of those firms that still sends invoices out via regular mail. So I'll just briefly go over that near the very end, take some questions, and we should be done. So that'll be what we'll be covering today. So let's get right into it. Creating related parties for conflict checking. And I try, if I can, find a little humorous comic that kind of goes with the theme of the tip that we're doing. So this kid here is somewhat like my son, I think, who tries to find ways to get out of washing the dishes and talks about the conflict of interest. So what we're going to do is first talk about where you enable the conflict search. And again, this is only for users of TimeSolv Legal. How you would go about defining the types of relationships you want to track for your related parties. Then when you actually create these related parties, where you do that, and then go into and searching for your conflicts. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. And I'm going to run over here to my TimeSolv account. And if you use TimeSolv Legal and you have not enabled the conflict checking yet, you want to head over here to Clients and then down here to Settings. And about, was it 2/3 of the way down the main general page here, you'll see a section where it says conflicts and related parties. And you'll need to check that box and save. You also have the ability, there's a couple of kind of custom fields that are available that you can change the labels. And it's not a huge thing, and you'll see where those appear as we go about taking a look at related parties. And then you'll hit save here. Here's an important note too. Once you hit save, you're not just going to magically start seeing your related parties conflict search and all of these other things I'm about to cover. You have to log out and log back in to see all the conflict and related party features appear. I'll kind of show you that in backwards here. So I'm going to uncheck the box. I'm going to hit save, and I'm going to log out. Okay. I'm going to log back into my account. And now you'll notice I don't have as much that I see under my clients. I don't see conflict search. I don't see related parties. And in my settings, I also don't see a couple of tabs that were there previously, and that was where we defined the relationship types and the related parties. So just be aware that when you come in here, if you haven't enabled conflict search yet, and you check the box to enable it, and you hit save, nothing's going to really change. Yet. You're going to have to log out and log back in. It's just that fast. Now you can see I have related parties, I have conflict search, and so on. So we're going to head back to settings now. We've enabled the conflicts and related party search, and it makes these two tabs appear once you've logged out and logged back in. And this is where you're going to define the relationship types you want to track, along with the related party types. We recommend as best practices just to create one related party type, and that is that all your conflicts will be potentially with clients. Now you could add more related party types if you'd like, but to keep it simple, we like to recommend that you just simply create a related party type called client. And more importantly, here's where you would create the relationship types. And the world is your oyster in this regards. You can create as many relationship types as you want. As you can see, I've created in my account here some obvious ones you might use a lot. That there was a judge, or this was opposing counsel, a plaintiff, somebody who was a server, whatever it might be. So you can add as many relationship types as you'd like. There's no limit to it. And when you click on these, you can always click on them to edit them. And you can make it active or inactive, create a bigger description if you'd like, whatever you might want to do. Okay. So now once you've created your relationship types, you want to actually start creating related parties. And this will be just sort of be building organically as you work on matters and as you continue to accumulate new clients and so on. You and others at your firm will start, documenting these related parties. So you go under clients to related parties here. Okay, and then you would just click on a new related party. And this is where you could either put the name of a company, if it's a company that's a related party, or the last name of the person. Here's where you would fill out the type, and like we said, we recommend you just keep it a client, but if you want to make it a little more robust, you certainly can. Here's where the related party custom label, which I spelled custom wrong there because I actually had changed it back to, shame on me. I had a different label, but I wanted to change it here for the purposes of this demonstration so you could see where it was. So let's go back here. There we go. You could put, if you have a particular category or label or something, you could change that label name in the settings as you saw, and this is where you could put that, whatever you wanted to be in here. And this is where you could put some various notes and then other obvious information here for the related party. Once you create that related party, and let's just go ahead and do this, I guess, from scratch. So let's just say we have last name of, let's say, Lambert. First name, Jack. Some of you who are a little older might recognize that name. And we're going to say that the notes here, this person was the opposing counsel for Best Buy matter. Okay, whatever it might be. And I could put a bunch of information here. Obviously, I'm not going to. I'm just going to save it. So now he's in the system here, but okay, now what? He's not related to anything yet. He's not associated with any clients or matters yet. So once he's been created, you want to click on his name, and now you'll see down here at the bottom, this is where you establish what relationship he has to your existing clients and matters, whatever it might be. And you would just click on here, new relationship. Now here under type, these are already pre-built. You don't have an option of changing these. You could say it's an adversary. This subtype now are the relationship types that you created in the settings that I showed you the 4 that I did. We're going to say opposing counsel. And now here, you can choose to associate or make a relationship for this person with a whole client or a specific matter for that client. So if you check on client, if I double click here, these are all of my clients only, and where I could start just typing and it'll come up with the client that I'm looking for. If I toggle the matter button here, and again, I can then double click, and now it's all of my both clients and matters. So if I know specifically this was for the Lake Street, I think I have a Lake Street matter of some sort. Let's see. Oh, I thought I did. Never mind. How about Longfellow? There we go. Longfellow, yeah, Lake Street Foundation. Okay, I can associate then this relationship specifically with the matter Lake Street Foundation for my client called the Longfellow Association. And here as well is where you have another custom label that was in the settings, this relationship custom label. You can call it whatever you want. And again, you can put here counsel for, let's say, Mortensen Construction when we handled Longfellow's Foundation grant, whatever it might be. Obviously making it up. So I'm going to hit save now, and now we can see that we have, a relationship associated with this person, Jack Lambert, and you can continue to build that as you see fit. And again, just you pop these in every time you work on a new matter, you have a new client, and you have contact with the various people that might potentially have conflicts of interest in the past, or in the future, I should say. This is where you would document them and create them in TimeSolv. So once you've built up your kind of library of related parties, when you bring in a new client or a new matter, whatever it might be, and you want to do a conflict search, you go under clients here and you can see conflict search, okay? And then you can start typing. Okay, I have a new person. Their name is Franco Harris. I'm going to hit search, and it's going to show me everybody here that meets that criteria. And you can see there's various ways that you can do a conflict search once you've built up a pretty good database of related parties. And it's going to show me both that, yes, we have a related party with that name, and it's going to just tell me about them. And then it's going to also tell me about the relationships that I have established with other clients and matters of mine that I've worked on. And now you'll be able to pretty clearly see whether this person creates a conflict of interest or not. Okay, so it's a pretty simple thing. Just got to define a few things. Create your related parties as you go. That's going to be the key thing, is making sure that everyone is documented. So it's maybe it's an established policy across your firm, but an important thing to use the conflict search. As all of you who are lawyers know, it's something that's got to be done. So that basically covers how you would go about creating the related parties in TimeSolv, and then do a conflict search, associate them with your existing clients and matters, and then do a search if you ever come across that person again. Or, it might be that your partner had a relationship that they put in here, and you didn't know that, of course, because, they work with, dozens of people, but now you take on a new client and there's an issue with them. So it's a great way to document and search for all those conflicts, okay? So let's move forward with our next, as I bring up our little PowerPoint again. Yeah, our next tip that we're going to cover is about adding contacts to your matter and associating existing contacts to new matters that you might create. So I'm going to show you how you assign the different matter contacts for clients. And then you can make the overall contact the matter contact. It's sort of by default that happens. You can also grant access to the client portal if you choose. So let's jump back in and talk about contacts. So again, this lives under the client section of TimeSolv. So you could go under here to clients and you have your contacts. This will list every contact that you have created for all of your clients and matters. So that's the one list you have here. As a lot of you probably know, where you create, well, first of all, you can create the contacts here in this section. That's pretty easy to do. You can check for duplicates and so on. You can also give client portal access. Most firms will actually create a contact at the client or matter level. So we'll go under clients and matters here. And then here's all of my clients and then the matters listed below them. You guys are familiar how this looks. If you click on your matter here, the second tab over from the general tab is contacts. And right now, there's no contacts created here, or no contacts associated, I should say, with this particular client. Now, if you have a contact already in the system, maybe it was you put in prospects in TimeSolv, whatever it might be, you could assign them right now as the main contact for the Longfellow Association. Right now, it's just showing me all associated contacts. That's by default here. You could say, just show me all contacts and search. And now it's going to show me the entire list of contacts I might have in the system. And then I could do a search, obviously, if you have an extremely long list, you have hundreds, thousands of contacts, you could search for them as well. It's pretty easy here in this scenario for me to just, find the one. So let's just say Tom Landry is the contact I'm looking for, and I want him to be the main contact for the Longfellow Association. So once you've found the contact that you might have, all you would do is click on Associations, way over here on the right. So let me go back and make sure everyone saw that. So I've found my contact that I have, or let's just say I create a new contact. Let's just do that, simple enough. We're going to say that this is, what would be a good, I'm trying to, the way I try to think of this is I use names of old football players. So let's do Jack Youngblood. Played for the Rams, the LA Rams, before they became the St. Louis Rams, and then back to the LA Rams. Jack Youngblood, we won't put a phone number or anything yet. We're just going to save them. Now, by default, they are, or excuse me, now we want to click on Associations, just like before. If we'd found them, or hang on, let's reset this. Okay. All right. Okay. Jack Youngblood automatically became associated with this client when I clicked on New Contact. Okay, so they're automatically now associated with it. And I know that because I can click on associations here. And it shows that this is the main contact for the Longfellow Association. You may have noticed when I created a new contact, you choose the type that you want. Main contact is the one who will be listed on the invoices. Okay, so that's important an important distinction to make. The main contact will be the name and the address listed when you generate and send an invoice. So that's simple enough. Now, if we have a matter that we want to associate with somebody different, there's a lot of you might have clients that have, you work on multiple matters and there's a different contact or somebody that needs to be sent a different invoice, or maybe the main contact shouldn't be the one to receive the invoices because it should go to accounts receivable. But they're not considered the main contact. So there's a couple ways you can do that. One is at the client level, under contacts, if you want to associate somebody different to get the invoice itself. You still want your main contact. In this case for Aviante, it's this Laura Miller, but you want this Travis Erickson to be the one who actually gets the invoices because he's the one who works in the finance department. So what you do is you go over here to associations again, and I have them associated with a particular contract. I'm going to deselect that. I'm going to click on just the client. You notice that if you don't see the matter listed, this is at the client level. And I'm going to choose optional invoice as the type, okay? And then save associations. So now if I go back to Aviante software, and I look at contacts, it'll show me I have a main contact, Laura Miller, but Travis Erickson is the optional invoice. So if I go to create a invoice for them, and let's do a new draft invoice, we'll choose just Aviante, and let's just do, I have some time entries. Here's the client and the matter at Aviante. So let's take a look at the contact listed here. And it's going to be downloading here in a second. There it is. Let's open it up. Now you can see Travis Erickson is the one listed on the invoice because they were chosen as the optional invoice person for this client. So that's an important tip, is that if you need to have a different person who actually received the invoice from your main contact, choose optional invoice. Okay? Now, for your matters, at your matter level here, you can associate whoever you'd like as a contact. Doesn't have to be the main, doesn't have to be the optional invoice. So let's just say expansion contract here. We go under contacts, and we don't have anybody associated. By default then, whoever is going to get the optional invoice or whoever the main contact is, they'll receive the invoice. Okay? So let's get a new contact or associate somebody who already exists. Again, that's the way you can do it as well. You can go under all, hit search, find a contact. Let's do Tom Landry this time. So we're going to do associations. We're going to click over here to associations. And I'm going to make them specifically for just this matter. I'm going to make them the main contact. Okay. So now they're the main contact. Tom Landry is for this expansion contract. Now, I believe, I'm going to test this right now, that our optional invoice person at the client level, I believe will still be getting it because optional invoice will always supersede the main contact, even if you've associated the main contact at the matter level. Let's double check that. I'm actually doing this on the fly. I haven't tested this one. So here's the new invoice. Okay, so Tom Landry, who was we listed him as the main contact for this specific matter, is listed here first. So that kind of followed how I thought it should, in that TimeSolv is very hierarchical. So unless you change the setting at the matter level, it'll go up to the client level. But we did. We put in a new contact, Tom Landry, and made him the main contact for this specific matter. Now, there are times where Tom Landry would not be listed on the expansion contract, and that is if you choose to do consolidated invoices for your clients. And again, for those of you that don't know where you would do that, you go back to the client level here, Aviante Software. I go to the Matters tab, and if I click here, consolidate all my matters onto one invoice, then whoever is either the main contact for the client or whoever was listed as the optional invoice will be listed on that invoice. So I hope that makes sense. If you know that you always are, if you go back to our clients and matters, and for, like, say, Best Buy here, for all the matters I'm ever going to work on for Best Buy, it's always going to be the same contact. Actually, yeah, let's do this one. Let me see if I have any contacts already associated here. So I'm going to go back and say, just show me associated ones. I'm going to unassociate from these specific matters, because what I want to see is just have a contact at just the main level. Okay, so there's no contacts listed for this matter. And let's see if we have one listed for this last one here. We don't. So all we have here now is a contact listed at the client level, Samuel Levinsky. So now for all of these matters that we have here, when we generate an invoice and say we don't consolidate, it's just an invoice for 102, 113 versus Samsung, then by default, it'll go up to the client level and show the Samuel Levinsky as on the invoice. If you know that there's somebody else, a contact that you have, maybe it's somebody else at Best Buy you've dealt with that you put in as a contact, and you now need to associate them with this particular matter, again, you would just click on the matter, click on contacts, change this from associated to all, hit search, find the person, click on associations, click find both the client and matter, check the box, choose the type as main, save the association. You can also do it under the contacts, same exact thing. You could, if you know the contacts in the system, you want to associate them with a specific matter already, type the name, hit search. Once you find them, come over here to associations. You're noticing the theme here, going over to associations a lot. Again, you could, if you don't want to go scroll through your long list of clients and matters, you can just, start saying, okay, just show me Best Buy. Just show me that client. Or maybe you know the name of the matter you want to associate it. It includes the words Sony. So it's just going to show me that matter then. So use the search criteria. And you can say, show me all, unassociated, associated, all, whatever it might be. So now for Samuel Levinsky, for this specific matter, I'm going to make him the main. And this is where you can grant portal access as well, if you use the client portal. Okay? And then just make sure you save the associations. Okay? So pretty straightforward, but you shouldn't have to recreate contacts over and over again if they're already in the system once. And we even have the way in which to search for potentially duplicate contacts. And it'll go driven off by both email, first name, last name. So right here, if I click on potentially duplicate contacts, I have one in here twice. I can click on the details, saying it shows me that they've been in here 2 times. And then you can merge the contacts, and you can say which one is kind of the main one. You can say, okay, merge both of these into this, merge the selected contacts. Okay, so now you've done that. And you can go back and look at their associations and make sure they're associated with what you had associated with them before, okay? So you should never have to put in a contact more than once into TimeSolv, no matter what. And hopefully I made it clear here how you can, if you need to have multiple contacts for different matters, and about how to make sure the right person shows up on the invoice. The easy rule of thumb, again, I'll go over this one more time. Optional invoice will always override main if you have two contacts for a matter. One is listed at type as main, the other is optional invoice. The optional invoice person will be the one listed on your invoice. Okay? So important for everyone to know that. Okay, so let's move on here. We have gone through about a half hour so far. Those are the two kind of bigger ones. The next two or three tips here I'm going to go through won't take as long. So let's go back to our slideshow. This is going to talk about how we edit our draft invoices and making all necessary changes on the fly once you've created those drafts. So I'll show you where you can update your time and expense entries if you need to, where you can create discounts and adjustments if you need to, and you can change your billing template as well. So let's head over to our draft invoices. And let's run a whole bunch of draft invoices just so we can see. We'll go back to July 1st, let's say. And I probably have a fair amount there. I have 10 draft invoices created. Now, once you've taken a look at these draft invoices and you take a look and say, hey, maybe the senior partner needs to look at them, there needs to be changes on it, you don't have to go back to the time and expense screens to make those edits. Simply click on the dollar amount for that invoice to edit the invoice. Okay, so maybe you downloaded it, you previewed it, and then you notice like, hey, there needs to be some changes made. Okay. Now you notice, like for example, I had consolidated Adviante software. I clicked on consolidated matters, so that's why you're seeing multiple matters listed here. So let's take a look and click on just this one here, this Best Buy for this particular matter. Once you click on the invoice or on that dollar amount, now you have some options. You can change the invoice date if you'd like. You can change what the RE is going to be. You can change the delivery method as well. Click on this next tab. You can change if you have multiple offices as a law firm, you're a big law firm, you can do, if you have more than one address that you want to include, you can change that here. You can edit the address for who's going to appear on here. This is where all the stuff can be edited. Okay, lots of things you can do there. The narratives, obviously there's the default invoice narratives that you've created before, but here's where you can override those basically. Here's where you can actually update and change the time and expense entries. These are all the time entries that have been placed on this invoice. If I need to edit them for whatever reason, it came up that we should have really charged them. They were supposed to have a rate of $200 instead of $250, whatever it might be. You simply just click on the edit link over here on the far right, and here is that entry. Here's where you can update everything you need to update. You can update the description. You still have your little cheat sheet on the abbreviations, the custom abbreviations, just like the time entry screen. Here's an important thing too. When you make the change to a time entry on a draft invoice, it will not automatically update the original time entry unless you check this box. And TimeSolv does that because we know that when it comes to some commission reports or hours worked or whatever it might be, that the timekeeper wants to see the time they actually worked. You might have to actually change this. You might have to change the rate. You're doing something. You're entering a fixed fee amount, whatever it might be. But you want to keep that original time entry the same as it was originally inputted. So you can do that by keeping that box unchecked. Then the original time entry is not going to change. Only by checking this box will it actually change the original time entry. Okay. You can also hold it. You can click hold so that it will not be placed on this particular invoice, but you can hold it for placing on future invoices if you'd like. And then same thing with your expenses. There's no expenses on this particular invoice, but you could change them in just the same way that you would the time entries. And then under the total tabs here, here's where you can do discounts or adjustments. So let's download this really briefly and take a look at it and see how it currently looks. We take a look at the invoice here, and it's pretty straightforward. The total for this invoice is $2,900. Here's a time summary. We have the details of the time and so on. And then we're including a statement of account. You know, pretty standard stuff. But let's put in here say we want to do an adjustment. We want to take $500 off of this invoice, and we're going to, because you know what, this is the brother-in-law discount that we're giving this particular client. We're going to hit save. We're going to download again this invoice to take a look at it. And now we have our brother-in-law discount of $500. And it's reflected on the invoice here as whatever label you want to use, just what we typed right in there is what you see. Right in here is what we typed, and it showed up on the invoice. Conversely, you could just give a discount, and there's no particular label that's going to be here. It's just you're going to give a 10% discount. You hit save. It shows it's automatically taking $290 off, and that now the total is going to be $2610. And it'll be reflected when we download and view this draft. And this just shows our 10% discount as it's reflected on the invoice. So lots of things you can do at the draft level. You can then go ahead and just void this draft out. If you want to just start over again, you can send it right from here if you'd like, if you're ready to send it. Or you can just go back to our main draft invoice list. And here's the nice thing too. It'll also show you you've edited this invoice, this draft invoice. This over here, down here, shows that I viewed it. So if I click on just one of these and I'm going through and I'm just looking at it and I haven't really done anything, but I go back, it's going to show me, yeah, you viewed it. So it gives you a kind of a running tally of the status of things here. And then, of course, right here is where you can change how you want to send it out, both print or email. Auto mail, again, a lot of people have asked the question about what that is. We will send the invoice out for you if you'd like. There's a service charge of, I believe it's $1.49 per invoice, but we'll put it in an envelope and mail it out for you. Lick the stamp, do all that kind of good stuff. So, okay, so that's how you edit your draft invoices right there in this list. You don't have to go back to, again, to the time and expense entry screens, which is kind of nice. I should show you for multiple matters, and you have a lot of time. You can choose to show me all the matters, all the time entries for all the matters I'm including in this invoice, or for simplicity's sake, if you have a lot of matters and a lot of time entries on a consolidated invoice, you can just say, hey, just show me the state admin time entries and edit them as you see fit. Or I want to see, for all the matters on here, and it's obviously pretty easily broken down here, and then you can do all your edits and so on. So even with consolidated invoices, it's easy to edit the entries. Okay, so the next thing we were going to cover is talks about the different formats that you can download our reports and our invoices. So as you'll see, if you notice when I went to download this, it does give me an option briefly when I go to download. Let's just do this one since it's fairly simplistic. The format. And now by default, it is a PDF. But if you click on here, we do have 10 different formats, from Excel to HTML even. Obviously, leads billing is important for those who do leads billing. You got to have it outputted correctly, formatted correctly. PowerPoint. Not sure why you'd want to put it in a PowerPoint, but you have the option in TimeSolv. The one that I think is most interesting to use, especially for draft invoices, is to do it as a Word document. And this is where you can actually really edit these as your heart sees fit. So we're downloading it as a Word document. I'm going to click on it as you just saw, and then it's going to open up in Word. Now you can, if you'd like, once you get done here, you could, send it out. But you could say, hey, select all, and I really love Comic Sans font, maybe. And I joke, please don't ever send an invoice in Comic Sans font. That is the bane of every graphic designer's existence. So please don't do that. So yeah, you can certainly change anything you want. You can make it, if you want this stuff to look a little bigger, just highlight it, change the font to 12 point, whatever it might be. So there's lots of things you can do to edit this, change change things around, you can get rid of this draft. That's in the footer, or excuse me, the header section. And then you can send it out if you like once you do that, okay? So that's an easy thing to do. If you are so inclined, you could certainly download it as an Excel file if those of you are more into Excel than you are Microsoft Word. So now you can see it here, and again, you can delete the draft. First of all, enable editing, and you can do all sorts of things if you'd like. Let's just give me some information here before you could send it out. If you wanted to send it like this, you can. Okay, so again, you have options. You have options. Same thing with our reports too, and that's really an important thing. You know, if you're doing an accounts receivable report, for example, here's where you report output format down here. This is where a lot of, if you're talking about anything that has to do with running numbers, a lot of people prefer to use Excel rather than obviously PDF. So you can generate that report and click on it. It's going to open up here in just a second. And now you can see you have your accounts receivable in Excel. Okay, and you can do whatever you need to do with it. So, okay, so that kind of gets us through briefly, like the fact that, you know, downloading your invoices, your draft invoices, downloading your, or your sent invoices even as well. You can certainly do that. If you need to do the sent invoice and you want to download it, as a Word document. Of course, that'll also get rid of the draft watermark that's on there. So you could uncheck all these boxes and hit send and download it as a Word document and use that magic Comic Sans font if you want. Because as you can see, it looks just like that draft notice is gone. Sorry about that. So again, I can, whoa, sorry about that. Kind of zoomed in a little too much there. All this really is, these invoices is just a bunch of tables that have been put into Word. So you can do lots of different things. You know, you select all, change the font for just this stuff, whatever you want to do. Font size, a lot of people don't like the font size necessarily. And yes, I am completely aware of the fact that if you're sending out 100 invoices, you don't want to monkey with each invoice, and that makes perfect sense. You know, in the fact that this really is sort of a boutique thing. If you are a firm that only sends maybe 9, 10 invoices a month, whatever it might be, you do have the luxury perhaps to download them like this and change the font size or the whatever the things you want to do with it, but not necessarily an option for those that are sending out hundreds and hundreds of invoices a month. So that's, and I know some people have asked us how much flexibility there is in font size. Building the invoices based on all this information that's being put together, time entries, expense entries, the statement of account, and so on, limits us in the flexibility. There's just so many variables that we've chosen to keep static, at least the things that we can control to make sure all the information is placed where it needs to be placed. And font size and font type can really mess up those things a lot. And we've tried to doctor with that, but it's best to keep it in the default where you don't really have an option. Otherwise, it can make these invoices really messy. Okay, so the last thing now, as we start to conclude, is, we'll go through here, yeah. Using custom envelopes. So we offer custom envelopes that we ordered ourselves and developed ourselves that have a large window format and they're self-sealing, and we really feel like they're going to help save you time in stuffing those darn invoices into envelopes. This was born out of our own frustration of when you have your invoice here and trying to make sure you fold perfectly those envelopes that you get at Office Max or whatever. There's a lot you can monkey with our billing template and try to get the from address and the to address to line up just right as have you folded it enough? Is the logo small enough? Is it, it can just be a big pain in the what. So we said, well, the heck with that. Let's just let's get just these large window envelopes that shows both the from and the to pretty easily. So essentially, this is what the envelopes look like. This is just kind of a mock-up. It has a huge, big, clear window, so you don't have to worry about trying to fold the darn thing just perfect. I know it's a little thing, but gosh, it sure does save time. So like I said, they're self-sealing, so you don't have to lick anything. And if you'd like to, you can order them in quantities of 100, 250, or 500. It's more expensive, that is true, but time is money, right? We will ship these to you for these costs here. This is a blog post I just put out the other day. We've been doing this for years and years, but we want to make sure people found this again. So if you'd like to order some envelopes that would make it easy for you for stuffing, email us at either support@timesolv.com or sales@timesolv.com, and we can get those ordered up for you. So that's all I have for, and we will just wrap up then. So I thank you all for the webinar, and hope to talk to you all soon. Thank you very much.